Hello, my name is Friedrich. You see me in my little room. It is like a cabin inside the room, and I'm recording today. This is the 30th. This is only as a witness that we have today. It is not about the topics in these police records, police messages. This is in German from yesterday. I want to comment it or to give a commentary, and this is not prepared. It is of course me myself, and I'm disturbed. I'm disturbed very much. I myself using a little bit filtering to let it look more interesting, because there is no audience. And this, for me, is only explainable because of the old things. Then it was said those are over. It was at the beginning of the 90s, and they should be a matter of the past, the disturbances. And I'm using careful words, but it is as it is. It is my looking like through a mirror. You see me? This is me, and that is the blue screen. This is a camera. And yesterday I explained things as I see it today. It is detective work. We have the end of the year 24, and I have changed my strategy. First it was to fulfill the promise, and this was not a thing that was with an oath. This is not our custom. Our custom had been to tell the truth because we want to. But as it was one of her last wishes that the Breslau-Friends would not be forgotten. We were even having had little of our talks, and my mother is not there anymore, and this is her gravesite, and that was to be destroyed this year. I informed the township that there is this discovery, but after 25 years, or after 20 years it is possible, it was said, to destroy the graveyard. And the only thing I can do to stay as calm as possible and not to overreact. But first I had this strategy, and this was not planned. It was a strategy that came out of the circumstances, to awake people, and because of that I awoke, not with a whisper, but with loud voice. The danger that the things are destroyed, even this gravesite. I do not even know where the stone is, and the city is behaving like an enemy, because of not having in the least the ambition to give any honor to my mother, to, for example, prolong the gravesite. And it is a thing. She is buried between people I do not know, but the name was mentioned. And the slogan, Christ is my life, from Philippians, this might have been a stumbling stone and for me it is ridiculous. I met many people, even in the military, who were believers, who had been believers. This is the thing. If you are a believer, in my opinion, it is something that gives you a demand to yourself, an expectation, an extra expectation. I was raised not, this is a print, you see, it is not a photograph, but this is a reminder. Hopefully the others have still having photographs of their gravesites, and maybe my mother's tombstone, this is stone from Silesia. And she was very worn out at the end of her life. I think it could well be 110. It was as it had been. The times were strenuous, not for us alone, but for everyone. And she said, not every day, it was rather a thing to be understood by me, her child, and this is true. I did not choose it. I had the remembrance about my birth, and then it was said, oh, those difficulties, no, those are over. And then the expectations had been to receive the citizenship, but I'm not having it, and not following the idea that it could be corrected that easy. And I'm not even discussing about it. I learned on the way that merchandise is ruling the world. And my mother had to weigh out. And then I had been there to go to the library and to say this is not true, what people are communicating to you, because in this, for example, literature, it says it is quite possible. It is quite possible, but some on the telephone had said to my mother, for example, it is not possible to do this or that. It was about manufacturing, about some technical and else. The library is very important, and now it is not there anymore. There had been ideology to put out this and that. And this was, and like with many of the other things, some oral information. We want to take out the books that are not according to our liking. And first of all, please understand, this is, so to speak, self-developing, and with our communications, my mother and me, and it was very hurtful. It was heartbreaking to hear what others went through. My mother was not complaining about her own. The train stopped before Dresden. And then the fire of the burning city, 1945, was seen. Therefore she was not going in the city, but the others are not there anymore, and it had been the war. And then others came and complained. And in my interpretation it had been state level thinking to help. Mostly it was cases, or it had been cases, matters not fully explained. It was there's this and that. No, I said, Mary, people wanted memory stones, memorials. It is not wanted, politically not wanted, that the soldiers are remembered. Then someone was sent at the doorstep, and I said, I give it to my mother, or I called her grandmother to others because of her age, we were cautious. We had to be cautious. And now I'm put out of my thinking, I'm put out of it, that those things are over because of the time. It is still something I want for my own. I wanted for my own to find out, for my own interest. It is not about that religion. That is kind of energy to fulfill, and the others, I don't know. This is taken 1 year ago. Two years, maybe. Thinking about it, politics decide, and you have to go through it. But I'm not sided. I'm not on the German side. Don't believe it. I was rather asking, and I'm not against it, I was asking, why had you returned to Breslau? She did not explain it to the others. My mother was returning. Fritz Johann said, the homeland, or no, die Heimat. This is not your country, it is an expression there is responsible feeling for those who are building the home. On the other side, there was a home, even America, and this is both-sided, like a heart with two chambers. And why was there difficulties? Why had it been? No, it is still there. Why are there difficulties? What kind of nature? And this is the problem. People are not talking about it. And this had been all the time. And I wanted, and I'm hopefully doing it, talk about this, not this plane crash, but this was a starting point yesterday. It is later then, of course, about this lady, no, not about the other nonsense. Sie ist etwas enttäuscht. And if you look at it, I don't know, is that a look-alike, or is it my mother? And thinking about it, I had been to a town near Braunschweig. And there I said, if there is a possibility, my mother had been in the circle of Braunschweig. I want to find out. There had been 2 or 3 who were close, or one of them the real Duchess of Hanover. That was she called in the open. And why was no one interested? Had no one been interested? I was, and then the policeman said, this is politically dangerous. He said, to find out a thing that politics is not wanting to be found. And I hope people are honest. I need proof that I myself did not be negligent or had been negligent. And my language is negligent. No, it isn't. I need to look at the information that it is as precise as possible, but at the same moment, I need to go open. there is the false saying that there is something that people can have if those are thinking about things not there. Hallucinations? No, it is rather Wahnvorstellung in German. That was not doctoring. It is very strange. Even if the illness had been psychiatric, then there was not the assessment. It is not that I'm a lunatic, or hopefully not. This is rather ridiculous. I myself, and this is then the good thing on the sideline, I had been in the medical field to look for an income, and I was not fully pleased with it, but I thought I was with the elders looking for those who had endeavored the wartime, for example, who had to go through. And I'm not sided. You can't put it black or white. With my mother it had been, we were honest. She said at first she was pleased. There was someone who wanted to end the mess of unemployment. But then the religion in the Third Reich, when it came through, people did not believe. This was called conspiracy theory, the plans of the Nazis. Conspiracy theory. And then afterward, when it was looked into, not by police, it was something, I was born later, like difficulty after difficulty. We heard it, that there were or had been psychiatrists as well. Even my mother was once, and I said this should be easy. She was once thought about as being not able. This is not as serious as to be called with Wahnvorstellung. And this was not even in the papers, only in a description. He, in German, it was falsely said, is religionswahnsinnig. And then it was said he is hearing voices. This is not true. I'm not hearing voices. And then it is, if you have it like studio radioing, it is not voices. This is possible as disturbance, but I'm not saying nothing about it. I have, of course, the false, looking into it from the time when I filed a complaint. It was very wrong handled, very wrong. There came a psychiatrist and looked at my mother. And he, of course, I was suspicious, I already had been. He had been in a circle with Americans from the Allied time. And, of course, as a suspicious young man, I thought, is he following the wishes or reality in his assessment, in his work to put the basis, and I don't know. Then later my mother was sent to sign something, to make a contract, and I said, I can't do that. I should sign as well to hush me up about something I did not understand. I'm still not understanding, but world is around, not politics only, around merchandise. And this is now a theory that people should look at things. Maybe there's something hidden, and then politics is often coming and putting other things in it as well to water it down. And this is life's wisdom, what I'm trying to explain. Later, I want to go into the movie to explain it in English. And people want to be in the command of others. Like in the military, we need to follow a goal, and we command you what to do. And then even through my mother, the other mother it is, the Dorothea, this is my mother who was sent, I've two mothers, yes, this is true. And this is of course possible to be misunderstood. Therefore, this is not a witness account, it is kind of witness account. In a witness account, there's the other asking back to correct it. Because I was there as a witness, but it is how long ago? Then I can remember I was a day after looking for possibility to find out why people did not answer questions. There was not answering. And being trained as a detective in the merchandise, in the economics field, I think this, you might say, we never used the term detecting or detective. It is something you do. Science is about detective work. And this is detective work, to find out about things and not look too quick. It is then overlooking things. And then I even had the suspicion that it was overlooked deliberately. And I had the suspicion that when I went to someone to look for this topic, but now I stumbled across things, I was looking and not being assured myself. And now I'm assured because I found things, and it is even more evil because people do not even answer. Now the field of forensic is better, and I mean forensic in the documents. In the documents field, or forensic in the field of not psychiatrist. This is ridiculous to think about the idea. And I'm not going to a psychiatrist, not to another. There is the knowledge about a network where those are sworn in, not to go after the other. And it is even known that politics is wishing this or that. And this is the education I went through. And this stupid noise is something we never heard in the days when I was raised. It was a time even without television, because knowing as a counselor about the Entnazifizierung, the anti-Nazi education, to make out of the Hitlerists people without those false science education. Was it influence? Was it manipulation? Thinking not only about the Aryan race, but thinking as well, I don't know what it was, thinking wrongly. And then it was through television and through everything, and then it was never openly confessed, but there was also mixed motives. It had been, maybe people are now, I don't know if it is, conspiracies are there, and there is no police work on the whole case, not in the past. I never understood how it could have been without interrogating me. I had, as a detective, I was always like a detective after things, a private detective, of course, to find out. There had been lies, not only from the war parties, but from the other parties then working for democracy. And the lies are not called that way. They are called glasses or filtering, and I did not know, and so on. And then people came to use a lying detector. A lying detector, it had been a method where the currency in the skin or something else that is changing the flow of some voltage. And this, or had it even been something else? This is working in part, but then are methods to take medicine to calm down the body that it is not reacting as it would be under normal circumstances. Therefore, there is even now that much going on, and this is all from library. There had been the ridiculous idea to make me an intelligence myself. This is ridiculous. And it had been. It is in the library, and then you can think yourself, and people go there, they want to contract something to make you hush up. This is evil. This is modern evil in politics, I think. And this is modern evil, I mean the bad thing, of course. Modern evil in police work. I was looking for a job, and I had a helping hand to detective works in several fields. And then I learned that it is a following of orders. A following of orders, of course. And those orders, if you look, why is a case not being looked into? There are ideas, and this goes sometimes to the suspicion that influencers are there. And I got the idea that other forces, except my side, that had been American and German, and of course there are sometimes people go after the idea themselves itself, had been saying we do not want it. We have not the wish to follow this and that. And this hearing from countries who have as a common ground the contracted law of human rights, and then are demanding from their are those interiors, if those are superiors demanding. And this is, of course, something, if you understand, there had been the demand that this could be my mother. I want to find out that there was the demand that everyone had to be honest. And then those superiors are not honest themselves, itself, herself. Of course that is possible. And police work could go at the whole cases, not my case only, with something like a real clean detective way of thinking. And then there had been the time of changes, the so-called 90s Vereinigungszeit, the reunification, Western and Eastern Germany. And there was the wish to do it better. And then I was standing in the bank, in the Sparkasse, and I was asking to find out if I was having an account. There had been children's homes in the DDR, in the Eastern German so-called part, and I want to find out. And those said we are not allowed to do it. It is done otherwise, not to say no, but to say no time to do it. And there had been a detective, this time I think a state detective from the Eastern. And I'm saying, yeah, you see, of course I said it in German. It is ridiculous. Now the Eastern people are standing there, and I'm expecting them to help me to witness that there is some order to a bank from politics. Therefore, I know it is there even in the Western system. And who is doing that? I don't know. This really I don't know. Not knowing who is doing it. There is suspicion to say the mayor does it, but this is only suspicion. I'm not doing that. If I did so, it is possible that the mayor is saying, we have no money to give something back. And then Bochum, was it Bochum or where had it been? There was an old woman, she was on the telephone to ask for help. And she was having not very much, only a couple of houses in a street. And I was visiting her to find out for her mother, and the whole life is detecting. And I was detecting a woman who was not fully objective. I was asking if she would do with others the helping she was expecting me. And I said to her, you are now very old, why are you not giving this and that to deal with? And then she was falsely, this was not my counsel, I'm never doing that. I'm doing it like Advocatus Diabolos to find out if others are following evil plans. And this is my mother. She was reflecting, in my opinion. I don't know if it had been that good. The strong old times where it was not necessary to do the con man's work. We don't need it to trick. That was the saying, and she did not say it often. It was rather my interpretation. My mother was not proud. She was something like, oh yeah, this she could have been. But it could be a look-alike. And the demand was against herself. It is rather optimization, even in the field of police work. And there had been a man visiting my mother. He was in Britain, someone who was not allowed to be in the military. He was working with the police to develop a helicopter. And we made the helicopter less loud. It was a breaking of the tuck 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 of the noises. Break it in more than only tuck tuck. In other words, the helicopter then was not to be heard by criminals, and this is the whole thing. Are you on the side of truth? This, I would, you dear visitor to this channel, how much can you afford? And I was not very pleased that those who were honest, had been honest, were taking over responsibility, and even for others. There had been in the military, I don't know how many sides did that, the honor judges, to judge things from the perspective of honor. And I was warned to stay out of that circles. Of course, she had been very young. Yes, it could well be my mother's look. And it is not sure if she had it been herself. And there had been in the circle of the Kaiser's daughter, there was a marriage because of not that she was forced to do it, it was a duty to do the best, but I'm not doing it. I have no real nationality, because it is not even allowed to say something that would look patriotic. And if you're not believing that, ask those who emigrated. The unification of Europe is not a question. It is the only way to have it peaceful, but not on the expense of truth, not at the expense of my assets. Then this should be on the shoulders of everyone, and I'm not on the German side. I'm living in this country, and I was encountering with evil people in the DDR, in the Eastern Germany, even in Switzerland. And those are evil because those use the truthfulness of others to reach their goals. We need, and this of course, the whole life is morally to be assessed as well, not from the psychological, ridiculous, evil doctors standpoint. If those are doctoring, and I'm not asking them, I never asked a psychiatrist to look in my case. This was done by others without any need. Because of my anger, then look rather, why the anger is there. And she was not very often, and this of course could rather be someone else. Was my mother having a red hair? I don't know. This is not a proof, it is a painting. And there are many traps, and to understand it, psychiatrists could help. This then would be honest work to find out why the neighboring countries are protecting their leaders even if those behave evil. To take advantage about the situation, I'll switch it off. You will hopefully see it later, my commentary in English about the finding of yesterday. That evil behaviorism, taking advantage of things, is to take advantage if the people are there and paying for the faults of their leaders. It had to be looked into if there had been personal criminal deeds. But to take advantage of it is not easy to be proved, but it is evil, and I'm not knowing how much. To say, we want to help you, but then it is then with the ambition to help a very, very little bit, and mostly themselves. This is very much ridiculous. They do not need those aristocratic people. And I'm not German-sided because I know no German I would even accept. I know, really, no one who is really having the old German ethics. The real ones. Those are dead. After the war, those were forced to follow the Allied people, In the East, it is acknowledged that it had been. And in the West, I don't know. This is my suspicion. But I'm not following the point that people want to bring me into some group or into some easy solution, because there had been the idea to find it out in the 90s. And if someone is an evil detective on the side of police, this is possible, this could be police from foreign countries, then this evil detective is putting some effort in it. And this is Sherlock Holmes thinking. I would say, Watson, how would you do it? Oh yeah, bring a helper to this wannabe conman and let the helper counsel him to trick. And this is very easy, a so-called mafia method. I'm not knowing if this is there, but this is detective work, and this is not a lunatic's work. My mother had friends, but maybe some of the friends were evil. Those are now dead, who are lying there. This is a graveyard. But what if some of them had been having hidden agendas? Were having hidden agendas. You know, I said, no, not that easy, not too fast. If people said those would witness on my account, it is really needed, it is an honest witnessing. It is not that my wish is to be followed. It is not my wish, it is then something disturbing. My mother had been there, and some offered her help by tricking. And there had been someone at the doorstep who went to a neighboring country, and he said he was ordered to push the other, I don't know, forcefully? I said, no. I said, you can ask. I used saying, ask with good persuasion. This does not mean to use illegal forces, because the other said, no, we don't do something. And I first want to find out the identity. The assets are there, if the identity is true. And the assets are not to be monetary counted, those are mine, because it had been private. Not of the others, but those would go away. Would go away if a con man in America, for example, would trick something. The whole assets, the whole values are gone. You understand? And if someone from the false detectives, and those police detectives had been there, I overheard that someone said, in America, some worked there and said, years before we had been on the other side. It is uncommon, but where are the sober-minded, the clean detectives who really want to find out? First of all, those had to be allowed. First, those would have the allowance. But then, secondly, my trust. I had been with police in the 80s, in the 90s. Not every time alone, but one time alone, and I did not even say my mother. Or did I communicate to her later? I don't know. But I went there to say I would even file a complaint against my mother, because she then would have forfeited it with her behaviorism my career. And I mean both mothers. I have two mothers. Those had a pregnancy sharing, and this makes me having two mothers. There had been statesmen, no, wannabe statesmen. We do not have a state in the Federal Republic. In a state there is a responsibility in one man or one woman. Who is responsible? This is a federal state. Who is responsible? The doctors? First of all, this has to be looked into by sober, clean detectives. And those first have then to earn my trust. And your trust if you're on the right side. What is the right side? The axis of the willing, like Mr. Bush, the president of the US, once said, die Achse des Guten, the axis or the, and this is something, I did not even know the telephone was lying there. This is not prepared. It is something that comes to my mind, and I'm looking for someone who understands. This is serious, but first of all, it is about the honor. Every believer should have it, but we are not in a sectarian group. Even if the whole town said so, it is wrong. And even those that were attended from time to time, it's not my group. It was some place out of church because no one else had been there. My mother was looking, and she said the singing and the Bible reading was pleasing her. If you're looking for something, you are not to be identified with the whole thing. And this then had been 2021. This is my doorstep. I did not invite the police, but those are there, had been there. And those will come again, like the Nazi police. Unwanted. The Nazi police was not wanted. But those have been there in Brandenburg. Those are not Nazi police, I'm only saying like, unwanted. I do not even want to see one of the politicians, and I do not even want to see one of the aristocratics. I can bear those not not very likely that I'm pleased with it, who had been living in this home. I was not having one talk with them about this whole matter. That was according to the sober, it could be fierce, this is not a problem, with a sober assessment. An assessment is something that is like putting on the table and then looking what it is and not saying yes or no, but maybe, and then working on the whole case. And then, if something is proven, even to look a second and a third time, if this is important. People say no. Then leave me alone and let me handle it. But I'm saying again, the United Nations are having contracts like a basic law. And this is to protect the children and grandchildren of the former direct governing aristocrats. And I'm not following the idea that there is no protection for us, because it is the surrounding as well. And then false witnesses were saying I had been with the DDR, with the Eastern German people. No, with the leaders there. And then even they wanted to give me something as kind of sorry Sorry you were molested. I'm not officially a victim of the Stasi. I'm not following that idea. Of course I know the follow-up. If you take money and you sign something, I did it the other way. I signed that I'm not wanting to forfeit. I'm not wanting to give like charity. The state is to live on taxes. And if BMW or Volkswagen or Opel, this is not enough, what did people trick with Ford? Trickery. Because I was not said everything, and then something's gone. And then they manufacture enemies, looking at me like I'm a Jew. I'm not. Why did people want to have it? I'm not explained. I'm no Jew, but this is not because I do not want to, but because I'm not. I'm not even a Christian. I'm a believer. You know what a Christian is? Look at them. Who is resisting? Those are not. It is the wording. Of course, if the Bible says those who believe, but it is only once in the Acts. Those were called Christians. Once. Those are believers in the living God. This you can call me if you like. But I don't like it. This is a demand. And my mother had been a believer, but people have it as a stumbling stone. They do not want Christians, they want not even believers. No Catholic, no Protestant. Is it because of the Muslims? They want to have religion out of the way? Are Muslims pious or believing people? Of course, in another God. No, I don't think it is therefore. It is because of the DDR. State church. The Stasi was like a state church. The belief was not to believe. Think about it. I need sober thinking, clean policemen who have not the ambition not to look into the belief, because the result of a belief could be good or evil. And they do not work with evil, then you don't know what ought to be, because there is a different definition of evil inside the law and outside the law. Outside is evil. And then I'm coming to the suspicion people want me to make me evil by looking sick. And this is not an idea I want to follow. Of course I'm not looking very much healthy. But this is to be explained because of the lifestyle, and I have the right not to be in a lifestyle you want to order me. If this wants to be my country, these countrysides, these Germanic people, Austria, Switzerland, and the others, Bohemia, part of Poland, it is not inside of political borders. And if the states are making contracts, what states? Why don't I know it? If those are doing it. I'm a detective, and there's suspicion very much possible. and it is for you to assess it yourself. You understand? There is disturbance going on because I want to feel safe with policemen, and I do not want them to come at my doorstep. I don't want it without me asking. And then it is even more evil that I'm coming to the idea those DDR psychiatrists who were in the state planning strategy, those could be there again. Those could be there again. And then maybe even having influenced other states, other neighboring states. And this was not planned, but I'm in the, I feel myself in the freedom to do so. This time this had been a print about the gravesite of my mother. And it is a thing where maybe others don't want to have it, those and those. But this is an open gravesite, or it had been. It had been an open. And now maybe it isn't there anymore. And I'm not forced by no one to go there and look. It is only a memorial. But it is a sign that there is no respect for me or for my mothers. That I'm not directly informed if there is a possibility, and this should come from them without me asking them. The state officials, I don't know. Those could have telephoned me. The whole behavior is that negative. It is like in the old aristocratic situation where the evil king is saying, I'm not even honoring my interior by taking the whole case serious. And this is a topic about dishonoring. This is of course not my country, because it would be ridiculous for me to do so. This would be lunatic. There is not the least, honor and respect for a mother. Not in the least. If my mother had been the Kaiser's daughter, the Herzogin, the Duchess in the original, first of all, it is possible politicians did not know. But then on the other hand, when I'm saying, and I did so, that this is dishonoring, it is even for me if there is no Kaiser and no Duchess at all. Because I asked about things really had happened. That really had happened. That there was a quarrel about a site, about a Straßenkreuzung, about a crossroad. I'm now coming to the conclusion it is about money. Not money, but values that could be counted in money, and it is a thing that is dishonoring. I'm not going to lawyers. I'm not liking, not in the least, this Mr. Schröder. I have nothing against him, this ex-chancellor. I have nothing against the others because I have nothing to do with them. But honoring would look different. And then this totally unknown Mr. Merz, I had one joke, little film where there was, like in the theater, on the stage. This is not uncommon. From time to time you play something, it is for your enjoyment, to learn something. But this is not to know someone. Knowing someone, that is to be interested and to have a contact address. I have no contact address of any nobility or aristocratic houses. I was once given a contact address, and this now I feel is dishonoring. There had been a contract given me of a woman that could network a contact to the Netherlands. This is dishonoring. If the other gives you something and then is saying, oh, maybe you can ask if I'm coming down my high throne. And of course I did respect it, because I did not know. I thought, of course, those are in honor positions. Now I'm understanding it is rather not to be respected at all. Not to be respected at all. But I do not want others to. I do not want to lose them either as witnesses. And they have been a little helping each other. I was invited, for example, to Galapagos and so on. I was a child. It was even before school, and even afterward a little bit. But then now I come to the point that it had been maybe half merchandise, half business style. It could be I'm someone who was raised to have sympathy for the difficulties of those who are on the reigning side, to understand it is difficult and there are extra obligations. But I do not want to go too far. I'm now looking at the graveside and I'm saying I can now talk about it. This is more than 20 years ago, without feeling pain, and a little bit, still a little bit, but it is something where you have to do with my mother. She was helping the German people. But then, understanding what could have been, she was thrown out of her position and then thrown out again by someone working with the Nazi police, or having been sympathy with the Nazi police. If that is true, this could have been Blankenburg, and this is suspicion for me as a detective. But my mother did not want to be adored. Yes, maybe a little bit. But she said in German, bei uns gibt es keine Menschenverherrlichung. With us there is not the worshipping of humans. And I follow the idea as well. Because understanding that it is work, it is responsibility, and then not having the sober, noble, clean police. This is the biggest shock, the largest damage of all. There had been in the 90s a teacher from a policing academy, and he was interested to have a change in the ethics. Therefore, because of those contacts, I knew and maybe it is now better, but in the past there had been difficulties to bring the new policemen, and women of course as well, policemen, to the new, better ethical standpoint. I was a helper. I came through Allied asking, I don't know, it was not too often, but then I understood it is still full of politics, the police work. I was like a helper in German Praktikant, and it was because of special rights. And it was not fully explained, but this had been the Allies, those had respect, that my mother was respected. It was listened, what she said, and it was in America. It had been to at least one contact in Great Britain, and in the Netherlands with the old one, I think, and then there was there had been South America. This could have been a contact in the stock market, but my mother did not say. This is my my interpretation. My mother was discreet. Had been discreet, but I'm not in the position not to tell something. But I'm not a whistleblower. No, I'm not. I was not officially asked to have a position in Denmark. It was a little bit with a trick, because forfeiting something is not inside of something I could calculate with. And the same with Sweden. It was asked to do something, but then I would hear about what would come to me. I was a child. Then I was asked in the Netherlands, but it is not an honor to help the grandchildren of the reigning powers there. No, it is not. I thought about it. But this is dishonoring my mother. And I know too little about Karl, but I heard very much about Fritz Johann. What would he think? He was fed up with the war, with all those diplomacies, with the force of war, but I need military as well. And I need sober policing. But I'm not following political orders. I'm not following them. I would have done so with the false grounds, thinking there is not a right, that I'm feeling it. There is a right, but not that is of interest. It is people after money. And I need good detectives, but detectives who understand that even their fellow colleagues could be full of manipulation. The evil ones are not evil because they want to be, but it is pollution. Pollution. Manipulation. Manipulation. I was asked to speak with a convict to help police. It was from America. I was a youth, and he was too, and I found out he was wanting to confess a thing. He was not there. He wanted to protect someone else. And this is normal thinking of sober police. Do not take the confession of someone to solve a case. If it is not right, then don't do it. And I was raised with the idea, police is your friend and helper, a friend and a helper. And now those standing there is not very much of a danger. But who gave them orders? This is the danger I'm looking at. Who gave them orders? Who did so? Is it again politics messing in the judicial system? There is the so-called Weisungsbefugnis, and this what was given, this is the direction, right? This was given that Nazi criminal deeds would be followed, to be looked into. Followed like a detective does it. To follow the trace, to find out, and then of course have a sober judgment and a good ruling ability. It is something that is very much a necessity. And now I'm looking for a ruler to show you, here I have to show you that this is enlarged. And it is really very much necessary that it is even possible that people come and want to help. And then it is a sad thing that I don't know if it is no better with the policing that had been not very good in other former days. I'm not saying that the Eastern German thinking was altogether bad, but the pressure from politics was there, or hadn't it been a pressure. And then there was a thinking, what is that? Then there was a thinking. There was a thinking what is that? It's a disturbance. There had been a thinking it would become better. The whole system was then disturbed with 9/11. Then the false demand for psychiatrists to find out, and this is not a thing, not possible to find out, but it is happening again. And then people looking a little bit sick, like me, and I saw others who had been different than the looks they were showing. And this is not a good English lesson or lecture. It is something where I'm looking again for those who could help. Of course, the problem is I cannot pay for it, but where are the people who are allowed to do so without following political ideas? I heard it, a policeman said, it was near Blankenburg, near Braunschweig, in the 80s. I said, if it is true that my mother is calm about a thing, not talking, I believe her, she is not allowed to do it, otherwise her life is threatened or she is dead. a threat to the life. Everyone has who's talking about something that is not wanted. People came as refugees and still do. Those have to fear for their lives, and it is not known because of what. This is a topic where others would then look as evil, and I would protect them till those are proven guilty. But this Mr. Schroeder, he once said he's not allowed, no, or was it Mr. Schmidt? Politicians are not allowed to talk about everything. Therefore, I do not want even to have a meeting. I'm not expecting politics. I have nothing against the individual Schroeder. I have nothing against, I don't know them. But I'm not following the idea that any politician would ever tell me the truth. I need sober-minded detectives, like bookkeeping detectives. And we had a Buchprüfer in the books. And the whole life is detecting. A science man, he is detecting something new. He's wanting to do it. This is a remembering stone. I'd like to have the stone, but if I don't have it, I have no tombstone for my father. You see, I don't know the others. And for my mama, she is mother as well, both breastfed me. The younger could of course better. And I'm not having self-accusations. How can a little child give others that effort? It was not my choice. But I feel obligated to this Mrs. She said, I'm not your mummy. You have a mother. Those fell ill, not because of your birth. It is not known why. Both were ill, and then I was raised by others, and I was even at weekends in private American families. One were expecting a child, a woman, I mean a girl. There was the room with other colors, a boy more likely blue. And then I was taken back by a woman who did it for a mother. And those all had been private. I'm not talking about the private people. Well, I do not want to see them right now, because it would make it private. And then I would feel manipulated. I don't like the idea. You understand? I need sober thinking policeman. And this man who had been here at this home, he was not being allowed because of politics to have a counseling or leading position with the military. It was not wanted, therefore he went, the man with the blue helicopter, he was known to me. He was not very often a visitor, but he liked to be with my mother to be counseled. Therefore my mother had been a counselor to the leading families. Those are not enemies, privately not, but maybe more than competitors. And this then would it make enemies. If those are after my assets, this people, this German people, this is not one country alone, this people is needing culture. This is more than only pedagogical helping. Culture is needed, and I'm not following political orders, and I'm not in a group. I was a political helper, even in the Near East, and to help someone out. And then I was shocked. Later I was with a pilot, a president, he flew himself, and there was a near destruction. It was my experience that people cannot be trusted, that I looked for a way to put out, before I had to ask, the autopilot. We looked into possibilities to manipulate the driving capabilities of this jet. And then it was okay, but I thought maybe people are not honest. Then I need a way to jump out, would be possible with a glider, but rather I was shocked that it was a situation, and I do not want to have it again. I'm not looking for enemies, I'm looking for business friends. And those state leaders are wanting to have an explanation. I'm not following the idea to take revenge, except when there are others involved. I cannot talk on their behalf. I want my siblings to be safe, because those have been visitors in this home. Those are visitors in this home, if those are not full, rightful siblings. They are some kind of being raised with me. Even I'm the only child of my mother, Elsie Urban, you see. Her real date of birth had been, I now understand, 1892, not 1904. This is on the tombstone. And Christ is my life is Christ. This had been something she was critical about. She said, this is a high demand. But my mother, the younger, put it on the tombstone. It was not preaching my mother did, she was administrating. And she had good men. And I had contact with people who want to defend the national honor. I'm doing it another way, my way. Those with the roots in the German countrysides is not that there's something else in the bottom, in the salad, in the food, in the game those are eating. It is the development through Reformation, Augustinus, and then others were looking for the right ground to build a life. Later, it was put in the human rights, and then it was contracted to keep it out of the governing demands, the Bible belief, but it is still there. It is still there. In former days, you would have never become president without being in a church. But then after the Third Reich, this is the tombstone, of course, also Urban. In the Third Reich, this was called that way. There had been honorable people afterward were being put in the black box. And I'm not on the German side because it is black boxed. I'm supporting honorable people, and there is very much understanding necessary. I was with German people. Those had left the country because being persecuted because of their ancestry. And those had been more of the culture, more demanding. And if it is still a Bible that is a stumbling stone, people have not learned. Do not think about sectarian behaviorism. This is ridiculous. But people thought the way. Papa was preaching for the truth. He did it, not that I would have done so. I would have done not the way, but you could talk, negotiate about the truth with Papa. And Papa was different to my mother and to my mother. Mother is the elder. This is the gravesite of Oma. This. And it is really, let me see if I can show you. This is the gravesite. And this is for security. There was artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence developed to prevent the actors, the stuntmen, from dying. In the historical business friendships, there have been some in France in the 80s, and those were trained to do stuntman jobs. But the artificial intelligence could, it is still the possibility. There is no good encryption that you know 100% you are talking with a telephone partner. And you do not know 100% if the recording is really a recording or if it is, where's me? There it is. You see, this is the blue screen and there's the camera, maybe $100. But the invention goes to, I don't know if I'm allowed to call him a business friend. He looked at a sea creature, I think, and at other eyes in nature. And this invention then was and is in the market. And a little thing is in that camera. This is mirrored, you see. Let me see if you can now see it. It is still the same. Thank you very much. And this is about something that is for me important, to look at a tombstone and then having the freedom to do so. But of course, there is something, there's really, and this is a pointing device. This is not a sign. This is something I use to show that it is really with two cameras. You see? And I'm aware of the dangers. I was in different cultures as a boy, and I'm feeling on another level obligated to follow in the footsteps of my grandfather Karl, Charles or Carlos, you might call him. There had been a Carlos from Spain, and I don't know why he was somehow having trouble. I don't know. It is a thing. You're not understanding if you are not affected. But this is important for everyone. My mother was having difficulties with the daughter she raised, but not legally, being her own daughter. This is not Mama. And then there was a quarrel. And I said, it is not in my mother's liking, she doesn't like it, that you give away because of pressure. But I'm not understanding why the state, is there a state? If there is one, it is the state's prerequisite to protect people with sober intelligence police work. And then I heard there's no police that can do it. And then came Mr. Wegener. No, he was looked for, not as a criminal. My mother was asked if she knew someone, and she first was not wanting to give an answer. But then she was asked again, we need someone who could build up a police force, the SG9 it was then. And then there was pressure. Yes, this was the police force that was trained by Russian police, yes, not state police, yeah, to fly helicopters and so on. This is important. We had difficulties only because of answering questions. And people used our possibilities. And it was not about assessing me. It is ridiculous and dangerous if politics is daring to do so. And then I'm against everyone, every state that dares to break the modern time rules. Those are even more clean in the demand that is to be followed than before. This could go to every neighboring state and to other states. And I'm not saying that I would follow the idea. It could be Russia. I'm not following the idea. This would be a trick. There is the Ukrainian war, and it is an error that people do not look into the possibility if there's trickery after trickery. I'm not saying that I like the idea that Russians are fighting the Ukraine, but is there someone understanding that there is no real journalistic looking into it? What is with the work of policing from the United Nations? What's going on in Ukraine? I'm not the same importance. I'm not giving the same importance to the world, of course not. But in some other regard, it is important. How many other leading families have been attacked? This is an attack where there was help from Scotland. It was help from England. But is it truly England that had helped? It had been humans. I hope there could be help expected from the Netherlands as well. I know about the conflict about the Boeren and the old Netherlands. Not too much, but there's a conflict between Scotland and England. Yes, it had been. on the conflict in North Ireland, and not we, as it was an American and me, and I don't know what went on. And this is my mother not having been there, but she was the brain. How you could help and then expect later something in return, but I'm not wanting to spend some efforts on North Ireland. I'm wanting to have peace and to help, but it is not my country. You understand? I'm not negotiating about people. I'm saying that my roots are the Germanic people and my country. I should have as my birth date land, my birthplate, place. That's not a plate. It was not a silver plate. But there had been a Mexican. Yes, I had to trick him a little bit. I said, don't do it, without moving my mouth. And he said, an angel spoke to me. I felt a danger. And then he presented me, and I want to have it, it is mine, a little revolver with some ornaments, diamonds on it. A very little one. And he was a believer. He said, if an angel would now say, what was he about to do? Why did the nurse knew about it? There's a visitor who will come. Why did she know about it? This looks like being political. And others would then want to accuse United States. I'm not expecting those can govern a nursing home. It had been a nursing home to raise me. And I'm not wanting you to accept the idea that I knew about the conflict this Mr. The black man with the grey hair. He was having conflicts with his own people. With Americans, I mean the black people. Those are Americans, but there is a conflict. Is it going on, or is it now in peace and quietness? Hopefully not suppressed. He wanted to have it the peaceful way, and others wanted to fight. And Mrs. Celine, she was saying, I'm not your mother, and I'm not allowed to have too much affection. Sometimes a child is dying. Therefore I was from the early days on having knowledge about the conflict, and then there was another human being who warmed me up that I would drink again. I had stopped drinking. And she did it because of a little stubbornness. I think she could have come out of the extra area in London. She said, some people do not respect us, but we are fighters. And there have been several who nursed me. What can I do now? I can use what I'm able to do to help people and not on one side. Why do I have affection for the German people? Because of the culture, yes. But not because those have been nice. There have been the Prussians who did not help my mother, but she wants not the others to suffer for it. And I'm not looking for a place in the hierarchy. No, I'm not. It is the understanding that there is no hierarchy. There's Karl's layer, my mother's layer, and then the others according to their ability. But it is not me to give something away. I don't know what this man... Oh, it's now going again. this man had been expecting. This Mexican, was he one of the 7 Mexican kings? Do they have kings? I mean, mountain kings? Rulers in the mountains? Or is it a dream I was having? Even possible that it is a little bit, but it isn't. But I'm being my own critique. You could help by going one after the other into the possibility it had been the case. And if not, into the possibility that it is true or not. And then I was on the way, and I understood life is dangerous. But there had been always people saying, we don't do it to a child. This child has a right, and this is American thinking. If there is no discussion about the so-called breaking of the pregnancy life, breaking out or what, or breaking or moving away, so-called abortion, it is a thing, you discuss it from the adult's perspective. Why is no one going to the point? Of course it is not possible then to discuss. It is rather than don't ever, but do not do it religiously. Think from the standpoint, if you had been, and I think about the possibility that was maybe 3-4 months, and then think about how dangerous it had been for those to help. And I do not want to lose any of them, even if some did errors. But others could do it. Those judging people. But I'm rather, first of all, want to have the assessment. I want to have the assessment. What is with Brazil? The city was built that there is not the quarrel and the shooting of governors in Brazil, South Africa. No, South America. It was misfit. South Africa, there had been York. But I think it is New York. Where had the Mrs. Cecile, her nose is a little more flat, she said. And she said that tomorrow my husband will come. I told him about another man. Me, the little man. A little bit funny on the sideline. I'm not that important, but every little boy is, and little girl that is growing. Later you learn it is not about yourself only. And my mother did it from the governing perspective. Everyone could learn of it. And we were self-critiques, but I defended my mother. She was telling about the main character she wanted to give me to think about, the princess. And I said, oh, she is dead. My mother said nothing. I thought so. She explained from the third perspective. And she had even, with the other side, sympathy, the uprising people. In the quarters, it was a hard life. Fritz, my father had said to her, those were undercover, looking in the quarters, in the living conditions, and it was forbidden to make plans to kill the Kaiser, or another of the, I don't know exactly by name. It was forbidden, of course, to kill a king or to make plans. In Russia, there hadn't been that good sober policing work. Or was it even more dangerous? The Tsar was killed, or wasn't he? There was an investigation. I was invited, and then I saw the shooting marks, and I thought, oh, those that shot at sitting people. I don't know if it was the real site, but why had people shown it to me? Was it one of those visits where there was the expectation that the son of Fritz and Karl has it in his blood to be a detective, a military detective, I think. The day after my grandfather had to leave the United States, there was a shooting, and afterward the president was not there anymore. Is that true? And I was asked if I would take over responsibility, and I said, first I have to investigate, and I said there had been enough explaining what I see it as it had been, explaining to the other party who had taken over. Is that a secret? Then I would be a whistleblower, you see. Is that a secret? That there was police work to look into the case, even 100 years later? And maybe Pauline was disguised as a fellow worker, and those had been in the room. And then it was falsely said Karl would be gay. Of course he wasn't. I don't think so. You understand? It is of interest to everyone. I do not think those had been superheroes. Maybe those had been, those forefathers, but others as well, and there were deaths in the superheroes' ranks. Do not think I would recommend you to become a new General Custer. You know, he had an uprising in the own army, and then the Indians helped. Therefore, I'd like to know the ancestry, the follow-up of the Indians. Hopefully it isn't that bad. There was a chief who said, I have no own people anymore. And he regarded me as the son of a chief. And I didn't say no. I thought maybe it is. In America expected that those had been blood brothers. You think so? This could be true, or is it lunatic detective theories? I could do something with it. There was negotiation. I was a boy, but nevertheless the uncles did it. To give the Indians from the road, I think 2 meters, 3 meters, to have their little huts to sell hot dogs and so on. Even this brand was invented, this other sausage. And then came someone and I said, maybe don't do too much merchandise, maybe a little less profit and better quality. You can make sausages from the leftovers, or you have a little bit less, and then this is the ethics as well. Do it as you would like to eat it yourself. And this is working. But where are those? I'd be interested. I would be interested, but not on the expense of safety. Not on the expense of safety. Maybe there is some other regarding himself as being chief. There can be 2 or more than them. This is not the problem. The problem is good detective work. And I'm not demanding nothing except that what is due. I'm not demanding if it is yours legally, according to the basics, it is yours. This is simple. Where are those detectives? I think this old man, no, he had been quite young. He was flying the helicopter himself. On one flight, no, this was of course Werkserkundungsfahrt. This was the trying out of a prototype. This was German Werkserkundungsfahrt. I was there as baggage, allowed to fly as a little boy, but not move. Do not move. And my mother was there as well, therefore we had some extra. I was there when the starfighter, the Green Berets, this was on the sideline. I knew a musician. I did nothing extra. This was ordinary. I knew a musician, and then he composed the Green Berets, this song, and I had a telephone call and asked if he could play that tune on an occasion. Oh. I was still a minor, but it was not a gold mine. It was to please people, those people who are on the good side. You can't say who is. You have to work for it. Therefore, if my mother is with this Bible verse, she said herself, no, she did not want to be renowned as a Bible lady. She wanted to be renowned as some doing it right. You cannot be sided. What is with those who don't believe? Those should know. This is my opinion. I have my own. Those should know that this is what I count as true, is a basis. That there was the willingness, if being asked, and to forgive, but not cheap. You know, the stupid idea, I ask for forgiveness and then you can gain money. This is ridiculous. Someone has to pay. The belief is that you rather don't do anything. The Savior has to pay. I don't know how this could come out as being mathematically right. I was asked, how can someone beforehand pay for something? This is, of course, the timeline is then there no more. It is theoretically solved. And if I myself had not been always a believer, and I'm not believing in a church, I'm not believing in interpretation, I'm believing in working on it. And I do not want all Indians to be churchgoers, I was asked. Because I don't know what church. Look for it. If there's another pastor, no. If there is something different, people change. Therefore, you have your raising, and then you need people to understand. And I had other people too. And I'm glad I survived. Those times have been dangerous. There was Vietnam, and then there was talk about those veterans still being sick, even being out of the caring units. How to survive with the damage. And I was doing a little detective work and I played a man who would ridicule a veteran to find out if the rules are followed, and it was dangerous for me. But we wanted to find out, and this is detective work, but I'm no detective by position. It is a kind of thinking. And I think that it is the recipe that the scientists and the inventions were the ground to build on welfare, were the ground, had been the ground, or are still, of course, still it is. In Japan, those are mathematically very good. Being raised that way, or is it in their blood? And then those are obligated by contract. Those being raised in the thinking of this old German style, of course, the old German countryside, I feel as my home, but it is not there anymore. It isn't. And there's no talk about it, and then it is not there. Openly, I mean. You should talk about ethics of your national identity. And then I'd like to have a European national identity. Why call it Europe only? There had been Arte. Arte, the television channel. The whole idea was to learn about each other and to build a common culture. I don't know how much it is possible. There are too many channels. The affection isn't that high anymore, but maybe it is still there. Why was there no undergoing with the Polish? There's another country that should somehow be interwoven, because a large countryside like Poland, and then I don't know if it is channels, television channels, and other entrepreneurship is interwoven, but it is a thing that people should do. And this is merchandising as well. In television you need merchandising to have the advertisements and the income. And what I did is, after school, to learn English, that I can explain it this way. It is not the best, but it had been worse before. It had been worse. And then I now was trained, I trained myself, to talk with less stuttering. And I do not even know why it had been. Even the pre-birth is hidden. And this should give me, it is for me, maybe for you as well. Honor your forefathers. But please do not expect too much from me. But the expectation I have in myself is not little. There's a German culture I want to defend, not a country. This country is now in contracts with others. This is a contract business. The moving power behind anything that is culturally a motor, an engine, that is people, that are people. Those have now left the country very much. In the last years, I think 1 million able men had left. And this is no problem. The world is not that large that you can't reach them. This is the benefit of the internet. And there is the asking that is not known anymore, to support it, but then to understand why. And this is to remember the old networks. And there's even the remembering about the participants, not about the war itself. I don't like the idea to go into all the battle plans, and you could do it to learn something. There was a Manhunter game, and the Schlieffenplan, and I was amazed that people knew about it. Even me, I asked at home, and it was explained. Therefore, it was open knowledge, but not among the youth. And what I need really is to understand there's danger coming out of government. This is not my invention. And the danger is to push me that I do errors, but I'm in a hard confrontation with politics, because I see no respect from them, and this is my expectation. But I'm cautious. There was the foreign side as well, the foreign sides as well, not wanting something that could make them effort. I saw the ambition to have something, and then that it pays off. I don't like this selling of honor work. The extra mile, that is a thing that is not necessary. But you do it because your honor gives you the obligation to go into politics. Is not for me, because then you would be cited, but this is an extra mile if you do so. But please understand, it is not about new parties. If you have a new party, you have the same network to work with. The problem there is, according to what I see, not the discussion anymore, where you discuss with the public about plans, or isn't it possible anymore? This would be in the state television to be expected, to have circles, not only when it is seen on television, but to have it, and then maybe 5 minutes to have a summary what had been in the township, one town after the other. What is it there, for example, with the automobile not being allowed to drive in the so-called green districts anymore? It should be a talk, because then the battery motor vehicles, how could they all be charged? Isn't that a problem? And not in the mind of everyone how this could be done. Or other examples, what is with the war in Ukraine? Why are not the refugees being interrogated? Or is it the danger that if they say something, it could then be a hurt? What is with me? Why am I not being answered? Asking if there's a danger to fulfill my freedom of speech. I did it not, of course, only to ask, but in the context. Because I want to have the freedom to investigate. And I do not want to talk about illness. If I'm doing it myself, is the extra mile. But the others should take me as it is. You are sometimes sick, sometimes are not. Of course it's possible others are sick as well. You do not force them to forfeit because of disability something. I do not want to lose anything. But I had been in the 80s to ask if it could be looked into. It could be looked into that there's a possibility my mother had to do something with the Duchess of Hanover. I understood there's inside knowledge, and I thought people would look into it. No, it is not wanted, politics. And this should be looked into. The policemen are still alive, but are those allowed to say something? No, I don't think so. It is known that in Hanover there have been people saying, this is strange, the Duchess is behaving differently than before with horses. Is it my mother that invented the springing horse, the emblem of Niedersachsen? Yes, I heard it once. There was a call to the artists, or to everyone, to make suggestions. And then there was a springing horse. Or was it at the time I was a little boy? Because we thought about it. It was at the table, I don't know, living room or where it had been, in the 70s, early 70s. But as said before, it was accepted this is politically not wanted. Is it allowed to forbid the looking into history because it is a conflict topic, a topic of conflicts? From what side? Not from my side. I could accept a scientific understanding. It wasn't my mother, but then I would ask what had my mother's role, my mother's work, what had it been at the court of Hanover? How was my mother related? She knew quite a bit. Then it was said only there had been several co-workers, several contracted people. Was my mother a child-caring entity? She helped the children of nobility. There was a general countrywide conflict. Yes, nobility had been with the extra status quo, and then that was not there anymore, had not been there anymore. This was 1920, around it, to 30. And then nothing known anymore in the open. And then there had been talk in the 70s, 1970s and 80s, about the so-called children of the former nobility, aristocratic nobility. But we were not counted among them. I rather was pleased with the idea I was not having those difficulties. But I'm not. Knowing it right now, I'm rather ashamed that it was not communicated to me. But it is not to be ashamed about myself, but rather how can politics, the Democrats, have vowed to upheld the human rights of everyone, not to make any differences. But there's no one to blame, to be blamed. Not this Mr. Schröder, we knew a little bit. Not this Mr. Schmidt, we knew a little bit. What does that mean? He knew maybe 1,000 or 10,000 people. There was a little bit counseling. If there was something with foreign entities from abroad, sometimes the telephone rang. And there was a looking to someone to build up a network. And I had been interested to do the same, but now I understand I won't do it. If people would ask me, not immediately, I would look into the possibility there is something fishy. And this, of course, is a damage. There's something fishy. Why was it over after 1992? I myself did never myself ask someone else. I did it maybe once too. I mean, never in the regular habit. I never had the regular habit or the habit to ask someone. It was people asking me. And then, if that is stopping, you accept it, because maybe I myself was not being interested to others anymore. And this all comes to my mind when I think about my mother. And this is really something I'm looking into. Why did she say she had a special relationship? Why did my mother say she was having a special relationship with the Oh, it's not working, this autofocus. Strange. With this, yeah. Yes, it was a business friendship, I think. But why can't I find out more than it? Maybe the people are not there anymore. Therefore, without your help, I cannot find anybody, I think. It is too long gone. But I, as a young boy, had been there. 2002, that is. 1904 to 2003. And this gravesite, I don't know if it is there anymore or not, because I'm not someone who wants to mourn. I do not want to mourn. It was written, this will be demolished, and I have not the money to pay for it, and it is not a question. I cannot even support me myself, and this is of course ridiculous, that I am undergoing this, and I have to do it because I'm seeing the obligation. I do it because I feel the life-threatening situation that if I would not do it, no one would ever look into it again. My whole mother's efforts would be lost. And what is with the others? I don't know them personally. The name I heard mentioned. I don't know. I have suspicions. And those are coming to the point I cannot contradict it. That my mother had been the original, and then it was never lost, it was pushed away. And for me this is important. Maybe for you it isn't. How come it is that there is no interest? Is it because the teaching was negative about the ruling aristocrats? I heard it this and that way. I heard it with mixed grades, so to speak. It was mixed. There had been people taking advantage of the workforce, and others did not. And then I have the other side, or let me say the Eastern root of my identity, and that was totally under the carpet because of the Iron Curtain, the conflict between Warsaw Pact and NATO. And I'd like to know something, but I'm not doing it in a corner. I'm not doing it in a corner. I see the danger, the great danger, that politics is then forbidding. I don't want the idea, because I see it as a basic right to understand my roots. I see the pressure out of politics. My mother wanted to help, and on the other hand, she could have, because of that, maybe people understood we are weak because of standing alone, the husband, my father not there anymore, the low income, the welfare level, and then understanding the others are pushing the buck. On the table, I was not there, but then in the cafeteria, on the so-called Stammtisch, there was talk that the allies who are pushing the buck among themselves. It was said that the British are the nearest, and then those are contracted to have the responsibility, and if something's not there, then the buck is pushed. I don't like the idea because it is on my bones. I was living in a country that had lost the war. But now understanding I am born in the US American, people forfeited me. No, they didn't. They can't. It is there, and then there is no negotiation about it. If I'm forced, somehow I can't do anything. You cannot withstand official ambitions and not to accept the fact that I am born and raised American. You cannot do anything. But negotiate about it is ridiculous. It is or it isn't. I'm from the ancestry of the old German reigning families. If it is from von Hessen up the Rhine, or I said it deliberately wrong once, to see if people would put it that way. This is detective work. Of course, others would say, by der Rhein, I said, and then people copied it. You see, this is not what I mean, to do it honest. Of course, if others have a very high regard for honesty, then as a detective you can't work. You can't work undercover if you are not allowed to show your not identity. This is, of course, conman work, but I did it because I asked my parents with a clean conscience. I did not ask Papa. I did not ask Mama, my mother, Mama. I did not even fully ask my mother, Oma. But the holiday papas, I asked if it is right to do so, and you are allowed to work as a detective if the officials allow it to do so. And if you do it yourself, it is, according to my knowledge, allowed to do so, to change your hairstyle and to have a ring in your ear, but it is not that I would recommend it. To work as a detective is quite easy. You can learn it in the movies by acting, not as a star. I was rather being ashamed that people wanted to laugh about this. Dennis the Menace, it was rather for the enjoyment and that children could learn not to be that stupid it was in the movies. I'd never done such nonsense at home. Yes, it was, and then officially I'm not there. But this is for, it was said that it was not good for me to be in the movies, and then I left it, and another got it, but I did not know with a contract. At that age, I did not think about contracts at all. Therefore, I have nothing. I was invited, and then someone else, and I gave him my idea in written form, and I said in the text, with the text that I wanted in relation to the effort put into it. Yes, of course, I'm not wanting to give it away. In this I had learned that it is your responsibility to guard what you have, and then to spend it, not to give it away to others. To spend it on your own. This is your responsibility. And if you are in the administration for other people, this is nowadays in the responsibilities of those who do it. Therefore, the official position is the responsibility. But my freedom is not to be negotiated. And when I was asked if I could think about an old-style leadership, even in Hungary, I did not say no. I showed how I would do it, side by side with the churches or the church. Then I was somehow attacked, and I did not understand why even the idea wasn't allowed. And since I understood that when me being alone, there is no voice to be heard. This is then an argument for others. If you're alone, the other things he can push you. Therefore, it is for you also to support me if you like. And this all over graveside, yes, I do it as I would do it standing there, was sitting at a bench, to start what my mother was then not being able to do officially. But she did it as she could, on behalf of others, but not to give it away. All those networking in merchandise, new e-commerce, Spielberg was someone who was profiting of the idea, because of the ideas, what movie, and then there was, it is still the work to ask people to give effort and time and money in it. This is sponsoring business. The whole market is first of all sponsoring the whole movie or television market. And then, of course, a return of investment is to be expected. Where has it gone? I think there are bankers, or kind of bankers, who are guarding my accounts. Because my mother's accounts are now mine. If my mama had been asked, this would not be right. And if with mama someone else had been asked, it is not right also. Because my mama has no follower, and my mother not as well, and Papa not. But he was in a kind of rope party, and when I asked if those had the same custom, others had communicated it, that this is possible, those said no. Yes, it is possible that you have a rope party, and when you leave the job, others can go on in the business. And that had been in the 50s, and there could be something. But I don't know about it. But I communicated very much with the older, my mother Else Urba, and with Mama Dorothy. The surname I have to carry is for my protection, not that of my mother Else Urba. And she is originally, most likely, Prussian. Let me see if I have the book. Not right now. Most likely, when I can follow it, I wanted to do something else yesterday. And please help me. This is not the help I need. That people control me because I was there with a walking stick. And then people thought I could be in danger. What is that? I'm not laughing, it is sarcasm. What is that? Then is other protection needed, not a walking stick and a helmet. You understand? If people would really want to harm me, even those policemen have not the right equipment. They said to me they were phoned because a man was anxious I would not harm his cars. Maybe he had standing cars at the roadside, automobiles. And then I was walking with a stick. Of course, you can scratch with a stick the cars, the automobiles. But those policemen said, but is that enough to follow me in my home? This is molestation, molesting. This is molesting. And in written form I asked, and I had no answer. Could it be that the communication is not working? Because I sent the request. Did police not receive it? I do not need to go to a police station. For such simple things, it is the best to do it in a written form, in emails or in telefaxes. Because going there is too much effort. I only wanted to know who did it, because I give the molesting not to the policemen who follow orders. I give the negative credit for it to the man who filed a complaint. Who had it been? I do not like the idea that someone is allowed to molest me. Yes, of course, if you file a complaint, and then those come at the doorstep, I really felt a little bit threatened. 2 cars. And then I was weak in the knees. Of course I was. But most of all, not answering is dishonoring. And I'm doing this video work because I feel dishonorment. And I think I have even the legal right that my mother is honored. She was a resistant fighter, I think. I might even say so. But why is it not acknowledged till now? I'm not obligated to any aristocratic houses, even if those said so. I'm not. I'm not a part of any nobility houses or aristocratic house, but those have ideas. Those have ideas. It is dishonoring me not to ask me. Sometimes I heard those cannot do it themselves. What is that? Yes, they gave me from the Netherlands an address. I could ask if the others are wanting to answer the call. Yes, I do the same. Please ask me on the answering machine and give your telephone number. Maybe I will call you back, but this is not enough anymore. I need some solid information. What is going on or what has been going on? There is no Swedish entity that is allowed to speak on my behalf. Not at all. My mother is not the mother of a Swedish man. She was a caring mother, eine Pflegemutter. This is known. But there is something going on. People want to take advantage of something, I think. Do not follow the idea there is a Swedish house being allowed to do something. On my behalf then would be to collect something for themselves, I think. Or the Spanish is not, because there have been interesting remarks. And I felt it as being honoring me, that those wanted to have me, as a contract worker maybe, but I'm not, as the German saying goes, ich bin nicht Büttel des Staates, that is the money pouch of any state. I'm not. And this is to be looked into. If there is the chance that people are taking something, this is stealing, please, I need documents, real documents, and do not take it lightly. The allegation goes, there is a trick after a trick to be allegated, and this should be a sober police work. And I'm in the surveillance, of course, because it is my own. I'm the only one in the following line of my mother, Elsie Urban. And this is really my calculation. If you have something else, please do it scientifically. People have ideas. Maybe you were tricked, being told something else. There was a false idea there are siblings in Hessen. Fellow believers are called siblings in Germany, Geschwister. But do not translate it as sibling. And do not think that in the movie those were believers as well and called Geschwister, sibling that is. This is not legally. It is like fellow believers. If those have the same belief, it is good. If those beliefs are different, it should not be a stumbling stone. It should not be a stumbling stone. And I'm the only one in the following line of Fritz and Karl. I was even asking if there could be legal rights from someone else. It is not. And it could be ideology. Yes, of course, there is good ideology as well. And there was something expected, but then it was not there, and you cannot do anything about it, except asking. You cannot go to the bank and go to the archive yourself. You cannot go to the office of the state, to the archive yourself. The only thing is to ask, and I did it after the so-called turnaround. Was it a turnaround, die Wende? The unification process of DDR, of GRD, of GDR, of the Eastern German, or the Middle German and the Western. It was a turning point, or wasn't it? But then I had been there in the East, and people say they do not want to do it, to look into things. You can't do anything about it. I need your support, but not too fast, please, because people do it fast, the quick way. They destroy documents, maybe by smoking, and it is then even that. No, this is not allowed. Please, very careful. I have suspicion. People do not want to do it. And this is my accusation now. This is detective work, and this is my standpoint of today. The very end, Monday the 30th December 24. This is Friedrich. And this is my real name. It is not the third name, it is one of the three. Johnny is one of them, Johannes as well. And the rest you might find out very easily. It is in the registration record of the domains and so on. This is no problem. But hopefully it is not true what people said to me, even officials. Politics is hindering police work. This should not be the case. And it is then from the 70s on till today. Mr. Gerd Schröder is not my, maybe he's Glaubensbruder. He's fellow believer maybe, but not my brother. You do not say anything if he says, I'm your brother. Maybe he's thinking he has the same ideology, the same belief, into righteousness, into common welfare. But think about the possibility of trickery. I had many fellow believers. I'm now hopefully not being tricked that often. Hopefully not once even. I'm not accepting it. Not even once. Thank you very much. 2 hours, 36 minutes, 3 seconds. And I'm not feeling very well. Hopefully this was not too bad. That you can understand. I have better conditions. Really much better conditions than today. But maybe I will read to you a little bit from the book that my mother gave me, and she said she checked the text, and most of it is right, she said, but not with the pictures. This is a remark I'm now going to understand. Das Buch Tochter Leben als Kaiserin, Tochter des Kaisers, denke ich mal. I think it is my life as a daughter of the Chancellor, no, of the Kaiser. You see, I'm not very well. I'm making misfits. And please understand, the point is my accusation against the kind of police work. And this not only today, but the last decades. And I'm not accepting that someone is taking over responsibilities. It is too early. This Mr. Gerd Schröder is not someone who could take over responsibility, and not Mr. Friedrich Merz. He cannot take over responsibility. Those are only examples, because I knew them not, but had a little acquaintance. You cannot know someone by meeting him or her for an hour or 1 day or two. This is too little. This is much too little. And even siblings have not the right to do something on my behalf, because this is single between my mother and me. Of course, she said, you then please help others, but this is for me to distribute if I like it, not for others. Not for others. And if there is someone, the whole world should be against him or her. If someone is swinging himself or herself up to the point playing God, I suspect some politicians to do so. This should be objected and pushed back. No one is allowed to come between my mother, Else Urban, and me. She could not entrust yourself to others, she said. But with me, she said, you are now in that position that you should take refuge in the United States, but I couldn't. You can't go there without anything. And this was 2002. And even if some king is playing games, he is an enemy, you should not shun, because this is a holy thing. This is my birth mother, with the birth mother Dorothy. There is no one great enough to come between us. Please help me, but please be careful that no one is accused too much till the evidence is there. But we had privately, as counselors, even counseled, of course, presidents and kings. So this is not extra. The counseling goes to the administrators of the world, or had been going. And even those are not allowed to do anything that could come between my mother and me. And people were throwing dirt at me and at my parents and at my siblings. And the siblings are a little bit stupid sometimes. And there had been a man, I think he is reigning in a very small country, somehow in the banking business. He's not allowed to mess up with anything. If he is working for the bank, of course, then I can't do anything if he is taking care of an account. And there should be several, I now understand. But knowing nothing about it, this is fishy. I mean, officially I know nothing. This is my calculation. There should be something. And please take it seriously. And the danger is even more serious, that the state will throw me again into kind of arrest. I need your help, because I was attacked on the street. And there's no excuse till today, no excuse, that weapons were drawn. At gunpoint, I was taken to an arrest. And then it was said, it is for your good. This is ridiculous. This is very much evil, and the world is looking and doing nothing. I need your financial help. More you are not allowed to do. And do not let someone from any reigning or political or else entity come near me, because I don't even know if he is then the real one. This is a reason as well. Or if he's pretending to be someone. Those are undercover. This is totally normality. Please be careful. I'm not filing a complaint against anyone. I have not the grounds. This is politics as well. I hate Eastern German thinking that every aristocrat is an enemy. I hate it. This is evil in itself. Communism is not dangerous, but the behaviorism used in communism is very evil. And I'm using this notion, evil, this wording. We need it from time to time. That there is not the allowance to do something only because the common idea is that the other deserves it. This is not allowed. Please stay calm. Please, no overreaction. It is important to understand first what's really going on. But I'm standing to that what I just had said. It is in my best knowledge. Right now, the end of 24. Thank you very much.